Welcome to Ion Franchising, where you will learn the A to Z's of franchise. Welcome back, everyone, to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. I'm sure you know by now I'm your host, Lance Graulich. So welcome, welcome. We got another special guest. Don't be surprised. Yes, he is extra special. He could run really, really far. He's an ultra marathoner. For those of you that don't know what that is, stick around. I've certainly never ultra'd anything, especially a marathon. And he was a call center executive that found his calling going after some cold, hard cash. Yep, cold, hard cash. He's a franchisee of iCRYO Recovery and Wellness. Welcome to the show, Mr. Matt Magnuson. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks, Lance. I appreciate having me on today. Looking forward to our conversation here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. And let's go way back. Why did you get into cryotherapy? What is cryotherapy for some of the people that have no clue?
All right, we'll start with what is cryotherapy, and then I'll transition to how I got into it. So cryotherapy is it's a natural wellness modality that is great for pain management. It's great for athletes. It's got a lot of benefits, for health and wellness benefits, skin benefits. It helps improve sleep, so on and so forth. But I use it primarily for pain and inflammation. So when you get in a cryotherapy chamber, you basically stand in this giant box that half naked for 3 to 3.5 minutes. The temperature in there is very cold, so it's around negative 170 degrees.
Wait, did you say 3.5 minutes?
3 to 3.5 minutes. Yeah.
Quick.
So you're just standing there for 3.5 minutes. During that time, it's going to bring your body's skin temperature down 30 to 50 degrees. But in that process, your body will go into fight or flight mode. The blood from your extremities will rush to your core to protect your organs. And in that process, it reoxygenates the blood. So when you step out of the chamber, that oxygen is going to go to areas of your body that have pain and inflammation. It also increases your body's natural production of collagen, serotonin, melatonin. So when you get out of the chamber, you're going to feel very rejuvenated. And you'll also sleep better at night. But the reason I got into cryotherapy was so stepping backwards, 12 years, I got to the point where I was a yo-yo dieter, right? So I was, about 100 pounds heavier than I am today, and decided that I was going to make some permanent lifestyle changes, both in fitness as well as diet. And I lost almost 100 pounds, but in the process, I became a marathon runner and fell in love with, and it wasn't intentional. Started out with, man, if I could just get up to running a 5K like 3-4 days a week, I could probably lose some weight and maintain it.
I got up to that 5K, 10K, no more K after that.
No more. You were all out of Ks. All K'd out.
I was A-OK after that.
I love it. Yeah, so I eventually worked my way up to marathons, ran several of them, and never really wanted to go more mileage than running a marathon because my body was so busted up and sore afterwards. In fact, I wasn't really, even after running 7 marathons, I wasn't even sure I wanted to run any more marathons. But I had got in a car accident about 5 years ago. Was at a red light. Struck from behind by a drunk driver who was going 4 times the legal limit. I was at the red light behind an F-150. So when he hit me, it just, ran me right up into the back of the F-150. So, survived the accident, obviously, because I'm here today. So thank God, blessed to be here. But, I had several injuries, including spinal stenosis. So, I didn't want to take any pain pills, didn't want to have surgery. And 4 or 5 months after the accident, I found cryotherapy. I'd heard of it previously, but this particular day heard it on a podcast, and it was a kind of more long form conversation like we're having here that helped me really understand how it worked. So I thought, well, you know what? I hate the cold, but I can do anything for 3 minutes. So I'll just try this out. So I went down to the local mom and pop cryo shop and did cryotherapy, and after the first time, I'm like, wow, I could see where this would
So
really
let's
work.
talk about this. I have never done it, and many of our audience have never done cryotherapy. So talk about that first time you did it. You described a little bit earlier, again, fight or flight mode because your body's so cold. But after your first session, did you have that sort of euphoric feeling right afterwards? Like when do you start feeling this, and what happens?
I feel it immediately after I get out of the cryo chamber. So, I mean, I've done cryotherapy now over 800 times, and every single, it gets easier with time. The first time you're a little bit nervous. You don't know what to expect. But any good cryo place, especially iCRYO that you go to get service, we really, kind of take our time walking the guests through the process and making sure that they're very comfortable. Negative 170 sounds very intimidating to most people. It sounded horrible to me. But when you get in the cryo chamber, there's that first initial blast of cold air, and then you stand.
And then you're numb.
And then you're not. Yeah, you're right. But it really doesn't. I live here in Kansas. So right now we're in the middle of winter. You can go outside every now and then. It's 20 degrees. The wind's blowing. It's very uncomfortable. That doesn't feel a whole lot different than being in the cryo chamber. Being in the cryo chamber doesn't feel like, unless you've spent your whole life living in the tropics, you've been in cold at some point or another. Doesn't feel a whole lot colder than that. And the experience goes by very quick. We put music, we have Spotify, so we take the song request before somebody gets in the chamber. The chamber changes colors. It's a fun, nice experience. You do create. There's an endorphin rush when you get out of there, when you're in there. So when you get out of there, you just feel rejuvenated, whether it's your first time or your 800th time.
So you were sold after your first couple of times. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah, I was really sold. And, after about the fourth or fifth time I was in there, I really started feeling that pain decrease. Overall, it was a 32-month recovery. Didn't take one pain pill the entire time. Even though it was after 145 doctor's appointments, doctors gave up on me and said, hey, you are past the point of medical improvement. Yeah, you have to have some sort of surgery or just, decide to live with this. So I kind of moved on from the medical field at that point and just said, you know what, I'm just gonna stick with the cryotherapy. I also found this very unique form of yoga called DDP yoga that is very rehabilitative. I found that a lot of moves in that particular yoga program matched a lot of the movements that my physical therapist was giving me. So I kind of used those in the combination. But I didn't like following my PT's orders before I had cryotherapy. Without using cryotherapy, I was just in so much pain that just, getting on the floor and doing stretches sounded absolutely horrible. But with cryotherapy, I knew that I had that secret sauce. So, 17, 18 months in is when, after the 145 doctor's appointments, they said, that's it for you. So I just kept moving forwards with the DDP yoga and the cryotherapy. 32 months in, one day I woke up and I'm like, I don't feel pain today. Like this was, and what I mean by that is there was no, for 32 months, there was no off switch. It was wake up in the morning, you feel constant pain all the way till you go to bed, and, just deal with the bed and try to sleep as much as you can. That's the other thing that cryotherapy does. It's amazing. Not only did it help reduce that pain and inflammation, but it does boost your body's natural production of melatonin. So my sleep was awesome afterwards, and it really helped get me to where I'm at today.
I love it. That's absolutely fantastic. And man, everybody listening, including myself, want to go do cryotherapy right now. Now what? So you go through all of these cryotherapy sessions. Were you still working at the call center at this point, or what were you doing?
Yeah, I was still operating a call center that I was working in the hospitality field. Spent a long part of my career in telecommunications. Switched to had a great opportunity in hospitality come up in 2015, which is actually what first introduced me to the franchising world. So I was on the other side of the game working for the franchisor, but throughout my time working in hospitality, obviously more exposure to how that works. So that kind of is what I guess sparked a little bit of interest in going down the franchise route.
Got it. What franchise was it? Are you allowed to say?
At the time, I was with Wood Spring Suites, which is they've since been acquired, and they're part of Choice Hotels International network of hotels.
Got it. So when did iCRYO come on the scene? Did you just start some search for franchises? How did that all come about?
Yeah, a few things converged at one time. First off, about a year before the accident, I kind of I was in my early 40s and kind of evaluating what was my next step, where did I think I was going, and really felt that, my next step was into self-employment. Wasn't quite on the franchise thing quite yet, but I was open to franchising. I was open to everything, so I was looking at all kinds of different opportunities. Even as far as going to Puerto Rico and taking advantage of all the tax credits that are out there. But then I got in the car wreck, and that kind of put that search on hold, right, of what I was going to do. And then 5 months into the car wreck, I find cryotherapy. A year later, I'm still doing cryotherapy, but I'm spending a lot of time at this mom and pop cryo place here locally. And I'm using some of the other services besides cryotherapy. And through all that time I'm spending there, that operational brain picks up a light bulb. Many times it's thinking, what, if I ran this place, I would do this different and I would do that different. So, I kind of, that kind of started giving me some ideas. And then one random day, I thought to myself, I should look into buying a cryo chamber for my house. That way I don't have to go anywhere. I could just have this thing in my basement and just do it whatever I want. And
save an awful lot of money.
Right. You're right. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I Googled it and found out how much it cost. And I'm like, well, that's not practical. But then that light bulb went off. I was thinking, well, I already think I could do this better than the place here locally. At least I think I can. And I know that the cryo chamber is going to cost too much. But while I was doing that Google search on the little Google ads on the side of my search results, I saw franchise opportunities for a couple of different companies that were franchisors in the in the cryotherapy space. So just started filling out inquiry forms, having Zoom calls, getting on airplanes, flying all over the country, trying different cryo chambers, and after thinking about it, praying about it. And it just made sense that I felt when I was early on in my car wreck and kind of having to adjust my attitude. I went through some bad attitude times during my rehab, where I was just kind of down in the dumps and am I ever going to get better from this? And I'm a man of faith. I'm a believer, and I just one day just felt this presence of God tell me that going through this wreck, going through this rehab absolutely does suck, but at some point I'm going to use what happened to me to help others. I didn't know it was cryotherapy at the time, but then, one opportunity leads to another. And then, here we are. It was, this is what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. And look, that's, we're put on certain paths, and I've owned franchises. And so because of my success owning franchises, I want to share what I learned, the lumps and the bad experiences and the big mistakes I made and everything else, but I love your story. It's quite inspirational. So Googling this, you found it, iCRYO seemed interesting. And what did you know about franchising at that point, other than, what you might have heard about McDonald's and other things?
Yeah, I didn't know too much from the franchisee side of things, but it was one of those things where once I figured out that I wanted to open a cryotherapy center, then it became, okay, do I go the franchise route or do I do the mom and pop thing? And as I kind of evaluated, I started thinking, well, if I go down a franchise route, they already have operational procedures figured out that I would have to figure out on my own, which may take 4 or 5 years of lots of mistakes. I can, they've already learned from their mistakes, so I've got that. I also know that in terms of selecting equipment and purchasing that equipment, there's collective buying power that would benefit me as well. And then just looking at my skill sets, I knew that I could sell and market this, and I knew that operationally I could run the cryo center. But things like even choosing what the name of the cryo place and designing the logo and designing collateral and getting a web page up and search engine optimization and an app and all of that stuff. I knew that, hey, you know what, that is not in my skill set. Not only that, I don't really find that too terribly interesting anyway. So if I was going to go down a mom and pop shop, I'm probably going to outsource this at a much higher rate, and then, you know, and then combine those other things like the buying power and the operational processes. It just made sense at this point to go down that route. Plus, also, you know, brand recognition. You know, there's this is, you know, I'm not opening a gym or a burger place. You know, 9 out of 10 people in the city that you know I service still don't even know what cryotherapy is. Just having that expertise of the franchisee or the franchisor, I felt really would give me a head start in introducing this service to the market.
Yeah, and you mentioned a lot of great stuff. I mean, it was obviously a very well thought out plan. I mean, it's all about time and money. You're saving a lot of time and money when you go with the franchise. There are quite a few people, when they're doing their investigative process, somehow think it's easier or better to do it on their own. So I always tell people, if you have a great idea and you want to invest all that time and money to create all of those pieces and more that you just mentioned, go for it. It's America. Create whatever you want to create, but don't expect it to always come out the way you expect in the time fashion that you expect, right?
Right. Yeah. I felt like I'd be 5 years behind where I'm at, honestly, without leveraging, you know, the expertise of the franchise. Not only that, also leveraging the expertise of the other franchisees. You know, that's the other thing. I love
that you brought that up. So many people forget that.
Yeah, I mean, you go start up a company on your own. You are on your own island. There is nobody to, you know, just call up and say, hey, what do you look for in the ideal candidate for a nurse? Or, I mean, just anything. You're literally figuring out everything on your own versus I can, you know, I've got, you know, a dozen other franchisees who have been open longer than me that have, you know, figured out some things and just picked the brains of a few individuals and come up with what works best for myself has been very, very helpful.
I love it. That collaboration is awesome. Just amazing. So when you finally got into it, what kind of training did you have to go through? Because now you probably felt like you knew a lot being a customer, but you went through, how long was your training when you went through it?
You know, there's several weeks worth of training. We had training, you know, that took place on site at iCRYO's corporate location. We had a lot of virtual training. You know, we came on as a franchisee, you know, right in the middle of the pandemic, so that kind of changes a little bit. But and then you know, iCRYO's corporate office sent trainers, you know, right before our opening. You know,
first in our building. You at the opening.
Right. Yeah. When we had our new employees onboarded, they also do an excellent job in ongoing training. So we have weekly huddles where which really are many training sessions in their own fashion. But then there's been periodic trainings as different processes have changed or as we've introduced new services to the brand as well.
Sounds great. One thing I want to talk about is the process when you were looking at franchises and you reached out to iCRYO. And by the way, as you know, it's a little bit unusual and wonderful for you that you were very focused on one thing that really changed your life and you wanted to impact others, and cryotherapy is what you selected. I had a young lady recently that was working in a school and wanted to continue to help kids, and she bought a kids-related franchise through me as a, you know, but it doesn't always work like that. Most people come to me and they're like, all right, Lance, read my mind. What should I be doing? This is how much money I have. And that's the most of my business. That's most of franchising. People just truly don't know what to do. And I love that you were incredibly focused and you figured it out. But tell me about the selection process. So you fill something out and somebody you don't know calls you, and you know, at what point did you do franchisee validation? Did you have a discovery day, meet the team day? Talk about that a little bit. Share with the audience what that experience was like.
Yeah, I did a discovery day with iCRYO, but I also met with some of the other franchisors as well. So it just kind of, it started with, you know, multiple phone calls with other franchisors. And there were a couple that, you know, since this service is so new and emerging, there were some companies that that I just felt were too new, right? Right. So I wanted to go with something a little bit more mature, even though everything was still brand new. I eliminated a couple right away, but I did fly out to iCRYO and met with them as well as some other individuals, and several months worth of calls. Also, I narrowed it down to two. So iCRYO and another company. And I even, hired an attorney to go through both FDDs because I was, unsure which way. So I was, hoping maybe, there'd be the clear-cut sign that would, my attorney would come back and say, oh, you absolutely need to stay away from this one, go with this one. But it really didn't work out that way. It was kind of, there were pros and cons, both ways. And I just had to decide. And then for me, really, it came down to the competitor that I was looking at. Awesome. Their cryo centers are just beautiful when you walk in. I think they do a really good job. I think ours, same thing. But the big difference is the other one felt just a little bit more, kind of more like on the spa massage therapy type of place, had just a little bit more of a feminine touch, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it's a great product. I love their center. But the other one, iCRYO, is a little bit more like a boutique type of gym type of feel, like an Orange Theory Fitness. And
gotcha.
When I looked at, again, if I'm going to be the face of the local market, which one of these concepts can I sell better? And me being the athlete and being the gym rat, it just felt more of the natural connection. And the other thing that I really liked about iCRYO is it, being, up to that point, my whole career, not my whole career, but my recent career as an executive, I'm getting sold to all the time. I mean, every day, emails, phone calls, LinkedIn messages, it's nonstop. And my conversations with iCRYO never really felt like sales pitches. They were very more conversational. Their culture is very much a people first, family oriented type of vibe. And, obviously I do want to make a profit running iCRYO here, but, the primary reason I got into this is really to help others out. The profits, paying my bills, that's all going to come along. But I really have this passion for helping others. And I felt that iCRYO was the best connection to that vision.
Got it. So how long have you been in it now?
So we had our grand opening March 12th of last year. So we're still brand new, still figuring out what we're doing.
Almost a year. You're getting close.
Yeah.
So far, so good?
So far, you know what? It's the best job I've ever had.
I love it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's, we've had folks that have canceled surgeries. We have people that are back in the gym. I have people tell me all the time, I'm not taking this medication anymore, or, I've lost 40 pounds since I've come here, and I've went and got my annual labs at the doctor, and I'm so much healthier, and he has me off of blood pressure medication now. I mean, those types of things, this pain that I've been dealing with my knee for the last 3 years is gone. That's why I got into this, and we've had a lot of those stories. So it's been very fulfilling. So far, so good, definitely.
So you talked a little bit about training, and then and you had to go to some training, and then I'm sure there's online training. And then you also mentioned they helped you, typically with restaurants and retail type concepts like iCRYO. You mentioned that they send people to you to help support you, train your staff, right, before you open, and then they stay for a little bit afterwards, right?
Right. And
then what happens afterwards? What kind of support? Because now, obviously, you're like a deer in the headlights in the beginning. You're taking all this in, like drinking out of a fire hose. You're getting a repeat of that information when they come out. And then once you're open and maybe your adrenaline starts slowing down a little bit, then what? What kind of support? What did you experience?
Yeah, iCRYO is very supportive. They've got, we can pick up the phone anytime and get the support we need. One thing too that's unique about our business is that we also, I mentioned cryotherapy as our flagship service, but we also do IV infusions. So we have RNs that work for us here locally. But then, and you know, they report to us, but there's kind of a dotted line to some physician oversight that we have from the corporate office that, you know, they oversee kind of the medical services side. So there's ongoing training for that my nurses receive from the physicians. And then, you know, for all the other functions within iCRYO, they have, you know, corporate trainers. If it's more of a, you know, training type of issue, how do we do this? How do we get better at that? And then there's, you know, other folks that can help us, you know, whether it's, you know, I mean, it's, you know, running a business, you know, it's kind of a wide spectrum, whether you're talking sales, marketing, you know, equipment procurement, accounting, but they've been they're a very young company, but they're very scrappy and innovative and very supportive.
Love it. So you have follow-ups how often? I mean, you have somebody from corporate that visits you, or they're just phone calls? How do they do it?
We have had a visit from corporate. You know, I expect that we'll have more on a, you know, each year, a couple of visits. But yeah, there's you know, there's regularly scheduled training that happens periodically as needed. So for instance, we just launched a couple of new IVs that are centered around weight loss. So we had you know, training that was webinar focused for our entire team on, you know, what the product is and how to sell it, et cetera. But then there's also additional training that our nurses who are administering the IVs that they go through as well.
Got it. So how many employees do you have?
We have 9 employees that work for us.
And what are your hours at iCRYO?
So weeknights we're open 8 to 8. On the weekends we close a little early here at 5 o'clock.
And how many hours a week are you working these days?
Oh gosh, I don't track it. I couldn't guess. So you know, I still still working in the call center hospitality world. So you know, I'm doing double duty at this time. My wife is the actual center manager, so she's doing.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so she's doing, you know, the day-to-day operations of iCRYO, and we divide and conquer that pretty well.
So what's your next step? You're going to have a couple more iCRYO locations? Are you going to do something else as well? What's the plan?
Well, there's always something else as well, but I'm not really working on that, kind of more in the planning. But I've got a couple things, you know, in the future that I'm really excited about. But in the more short-term period, I intend to open 3 more iCRYO locations around this area within the next 5 years.
Oh, so that's the plan. 3 units, or wait, 4 units?
4 units total. Yeah.
Look at that. And that's so. What is your designated designated market area? Your DMA? Is it? Where are you in Kansas?
I'm in Wichita, Kansas. So, you know, the Wichita itself is about 350,000. With the suburbs, it's close to 500,000.
Yeah. So real estate, we didn't discuss that. So they helped you find your location?
Yeah, they did. They have a partner that they work with that helped do, you know, provided the search, you know, made some recommendations, and then they helped us, you know, with, you know, getting the LOIs in place and then ultimately negotiating the lease.
And how is it determined these days with a brand like iCRYO, who the customer base is? I mean, how many people, you mentioned 350,000 or so people in the area. So is it one iCRYO for 75,000 in population? How is that determined?
Yeah, so you know, it's funny you mentioned that, because about 1 to 75,000 is about the exact ratio that we use. But you know, in terms of the, you know, what does the you know, client look like? That's what's really interesting about the service, where I feel like it's and really interested me in it is that it's emerging. Along with the other services that we have here. So, you know, I mentioned IV infusions being one of our other services. I mean, that service itself is just blowing up everywhere. Every city has, you know, IV drip services opening up left and right. You know, cryotherapy is growing. We also have some body sculpting services that are on our cosmetics, you know, aesthetic side. We have infrared saunas, compression therapy. So a little bit of everything that you
got all the good stuff.
We do. So, I mean, you know, when you think about it, you know, pain management is a huge segment. Well, you know, when you talk about who's walking around with pain, well, almost everybody over 40 years old has some sort of pain, right? We can provide a great natural alternative to helping people, minimize their pain or potentially completely eliminate it. From a cryotherapy standpoint, as well as compression and some of the other services we have are also great for both athletes as well as people who work out a lot. If you go hit the gym and you have you have very sore muscles, you go visit. Yeah, exactly. Go visit iCRYO. We're gonna cut that recovery in time down significantly. Whether it is that you overdo it, or maybe you have some sort of competition, you go race a 5K, your legs are a little sore, tired.
Yeah.
We can help with that. I mentioned weight loss a little bit. We have several services with weight loss, but we really, we cover everything from skin to neuropathy, fibromyalgia, just so many different things that we can help people with. That it's when somebody asks me, Matt, who's your ideal client? I tell them literally everybody. They might not be now, but at some point or another, we all have pain. So I mean, that really casts a pretty wide net there. But then when you start looking at all the other services that we can provide, we really have something for everybody. Even things like helping get off nicotine or alcohol. And drugs, we've got some IV infusions that really help out folks with that, losing weight. I mean, just such a wide variety of things that we can help anybody with.
So what's the most popular IV drip that you have?
I would say probably our immunity booster, especially the last 2-3 months.
After the pandemic, of course.
Yeah. Well, and even, as we get into wintertime, some folks, opposed to taking a flu shot, let's just boost up my immunity. Or it's very popular with people that are getting ready to take a vacation. They're going to jump on an airplane. They're going to be in crowded spaces, want to have that tighter, immunity. So that's a very popular one. We also have the Myers Gold, which is just kind of the standard, the kind of first nutraceutical IV, if you will. That's just a general wellness IV. It's also popular with folks who have hangovers. Which we also have one specific, an IV specific to hangovers, but I would say that those are three of our very popular ones. I have one that I get every, mention that I, run marathons and ultramarathons. We've got ones that really just help boost energy and stamina. So those are the ones that I use.
Love it. So it sounds like you're plenty happy with your selection, your choice in choosing a franchise, iCRYO. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, your story is very inspirational. I'm glad you're obviously recovered and feeling good and looking good. So ultramarathoning, how many miles is an ultramarathon?
So an
marathon's 26.2. I know that.
26.2. So an ultra would be a 50K or above. So 50K is 31 miles. So they have ultras that go all the way to 240 miles. I'm training. My longest to date is a 100K, so 62 miles. But I am signed up to do my first 100-miler this October. So I'll be doing a lot of cryotherapy between now and then as I train for that.
Well, that is fantastic. You're an inspiration, Matt, my new friend. So final thoughts, final words of wisdom for those out there looking to get into business for themselves.
Look, just be confident in yourself. Don't hesitate. Obviously, do the research, but time doesn't slow down for anybody. So if you're thinking about it, there's probably a reason. It's probably time to move on from that career that's been frustrating you. And if you're thinking about taking the plunge, just start working on it today. I wish I would have moved sooner on becoming self-employed. But fortunately for me, I found the right thing at the right time.
I love it. And for those of you listening, guess what? Matt found his own great, perfect business for him, but that's what I do as a franchise broker consultant. Just call me. My services are free. And Matt Magnuson, you're amazing. Let's stay in touch. And thank you so much for being here today.
I appreciate it, Lance. Thanks for having me on. Take care, man.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much for listening today. Please like, follow, and subscribe. This is Lance Graulich Until next time.